Okay, let's talk about a moment that makes me want to scream into a velvet pillow. Literally, my heart melts. Let us talk about Siddhartha Gautama, aka Buddha, and the day he decided to leave behind all of his wealth, all of his power as a literal prince, to become a monk wandering aimlessly. He literally left the palace, his hot, beautiful wife, and his newborn son, literally because for him, the vibes were off. Unbelievable. Can we sit with that for a second? Visionary. You could never. Your faith could never. Imagine being married to this man. You just gave birth. He is literally the next in line to become king. And then one night, he just literally says, I'm spiritually suffocating. I'm going to go sit under a tree for 6 years. Truly unbelievable. In a way, I respect it. I really do. But if I was his wife, I'd be pissed. He didn't leave a note. He literally left. He only had his sandals and the fabric wrapped around his body, and he left into the night, leaving his entire past goodbye. Okay, but let's zoom out for a second because this isn't just a fuckboy moment. He's not just renouncing his responsibilities. This was a personal choice, an initiation, because a seed had been planted in his mind. What causes human suffering? He had been raised in a palace. He was spoiled. He had all of his needs accounted for. The only people he saw were his family and his servants. Everyone was clean. Everyone was healthy. Everyone was well taken care of. It wasn't until he was an adult and he was taken into the city and he saw a person dying of sickness. He saw a person begging for money. He saw a dead man and he saw a monk that was wandering the streets aimlessly. And this was the first time he had been confronted with the concept of suffering. And it sat with him and fermented for days and days. And this question kept arising. What causes human suffering? And how can it end? This changed his experience and perception of his well curated life of luxury. It went from being a life of blessed gifts and regal earnings to feeling like a very expensive trap, like designer handcuffs, if you will. This moment in Buddhism is known as the Great Renunciation, the literal act of renouncing the worldly life to go seek truth with absolutely nothing, with not a dollar to your name. And, I'm obsessed with it because it's not really just about him leaving, it's about what he left behind. Arguably, the most wealth in this region of the world. He left it behind by choice on a random day, probably just a random Tuesday, and his own volition, his own seek for truth made him leave it all behind. So, he steps over rose petals. He steps over privilege. He steps over dynasty, bloodline, his fatherhood, and his own reputation. And let me tell you, when a man walks out of a palace barefoot, he's not just walking away from comfort. He's walking toward suffering, which is honestly iconic, especially in this day and age. It's been thousands of years since Buddha lived, and it's almost more unimaginable in this day and age to imagine a child born with such wealth leave everything behind to wander the wilderness in search for the meaning of life. What I find deliciously human about this moment is that Prince Siddhartha did not have a plan. He didn't know where he was going or even how to meditate. He just knew that something about his life was just not it. And rather than dissociating or numbing himself, he decided to leave. And at this moment, the journey of Buddha began. And maybe that's the part I relate with most. It's not that eventually he reached enlightenment. It's not the floating lotus halo and, him levitating and going supernova off of Earth. It's this crack in reality, the shift that he chose to make. It was not anyone else's decision. It wasn't a natural disaster. It wasn't a crazy mistake where he lost everything. He fully chose it out of his own volition. There wasn't a gun to his head. There wasn't extraneous circumstances that created a hard or tough decision. He did it with his own free will. We all have our own version of the palace or our legacy or our obligations. For most of us, we were born into a world that expected things of us based on our gender, our skin color, the country we're born in. And I find it's easy to fall into a narrative when you say things like, I have to. I don't like working, but I have to. I don't like doing these things, but I have to. We fall into a life where we are doing things out of obligation and doing things because society expects us to do it. And also comforts that we've grown accustomed to. But the version of life that looks perfect often feels wrong. But most of us stay because staying is easier than stepping into the unknown. Staying is easier than having no plan and no assurance and deciding to change everything. But Siddhartha knew he was not going to die in a velvet lined coffin. He was not going to die as an unfulfilled king, watching the people of his kingdom suffer. So, if you're feeling called to jump timelines, to leave a version of yourself behind, a version of yourself that may be beautifully constructed, but no longer truly alive, this is your permission slip. It's really not about money or access or a plan. When you follow your intuition and live presently in your body and make decisions that make you feel alive, have you connect with the things and the truths that you seek, that is where your true power lies. And there's a reason why we've all heard of Buddha. We did not hear about his father. We barely know who his father is. His father was a king. We have heard the name of Buddha because he dedicated his life to meditation. And within 6 years after leaving the palace, he reached enlightenment and shared his teachings for over 40 years with the world. Teachings that are still being practiced to this day. So, babe, you don't need a plan. You just need to start walking in the direction that you desire. If you want to go deeper into Buddha's story about his birth, his enlightenment, his legacy, I have a full episode covering it on my podcast, Esoterica and Nonsense. It's up now. It's a vibe. Come join me, make yourself a cup of tea, curl up, and let's get into it. Love you, babe.